Welcome again to today's webinar. On behalf of the National Latino AIDS Action Network and our partner organizations, we're bringing to you a series of webinars around AIDS 2012, the International AIDS Conference, which we all know is coming to the D.C. area, to the United States next summer. And so to build on that, we're going to be having a series of webinars monthly on different topics, and I'll speak to you a little bit more about the next webinars coming up. But to get us started, I want to welcome you guys again to today's webinar. We have three great speakers today to join us from International AIDS Society, and so they're gonna share with us some updates around the conference, and will provide us some updates and timelines and some key dates for us to make sure that we are all aware, so that when deadlines come, we're ready to apply and to submit abstracts. And so, to briefly, I want to give you a little background with the three presenters. The first presenter we have is Joseph Elias is joining us. Actually, he's based here in Washington, D.C. He is the Global Village Coordinator at the International AIDS Conference. He comes to us with over 10 years of experience working in public health, community development, and project management. His experiences range from working in mental health promotion with youth, as well as working in Australia with people of Solomon Islands, to training and human rights protection. In addition, we have Amy Israel, who is the Program Development Manager at the International AIDS Society, has been with the IAS since 2008, where she's in charge of the conference program and scholarship for AIDS 2012. And lastly, we also have Andrea Namipieri, who is our Program Development Manager at the International AIDS Society as well, who has worked with the health sector organizations, non-government organizations, the United Nations, and private consultancies since 2003. He has worked in Egypt and in China and holds degrees in international development studies and English literature. And so without further ado, thank you and welcome to today's webinar. My name is Francisco Ruiz. I'm the Senior Manager at the National Alliance of State and Territorial AIDS Director, as well as your co-chair of the National Latino AIDS Action Network. So with that, I invite our speakers to join us.
So good morning, everyone. This is Andrea Namipieri. It's nice to be with you on the call. Francisco, maybe we can go to the next slide, please. Thank you. To begin, we thought we'd provide you with a brief chronology of the International AIDS Conferences. The first International AIDS Conference was held in 1985 in Atlanta in the U.S., and the early conferences used to be held every year. But from around 2000 onwards, the decision was made to hold the conference every second year. And you can see on the slide that the last conference took place in Vienna in 2010. And I'm sure some of you were there. I think an interesting thing to note on this slide is that the conference really marks some important milestones with regards to the HIV response. The early conferences, for example, were very much scientific gatherings that did not reach out to community. It wasn't until 1989 or 1990 that community voices joined the table, and now we're very happy to see that community and leadership involvement has become just as important as the science. Next slide, please. The International AIDS Society is the custodian of the conference. We're responsible for the planning and organization of the conference, along with the logistics, fundraising, and communications. But of course, the conference could not go ahead without the support of local and international partners. These include government, UN, and community groups. We have 12 partners in total, as listed on the slide, and their role is to really bring their resources and knowledge to the conference and to shape the program so that it's dynamic, cutting edge, and relevant. Next slide, please. Next year, the conference returns to the U.S. after a break of 22 years. And the main reason for the break was that the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services listed HIV as a disease of public health significance. This meant that any non-U.S. person who was living with HIV could not enter the U.S. if they were HIV positive. And this, of course, posed enormous challenges for people living with HIV and caused an international outcry among scientists and advocates for some years. But however, we're absolutely thrilled that the restrictions have since been lifted and that DC will host the conference next year. Next slide, please. The conference is big. It's the biggest conference on HIV in the world and will attract around 20,000 participants from over 190 countries. It will also host around 2,000 media representatives, which means it will receive a lot of media attention, and this is one of the most important functions of the conference, to really boost coverage and visibility so that HIV remains a priority for governments, funders, and decision makers around the world. Next slide, please. Who's expected to come? You can expect to see a very diverse group of people at the conference. And this includes, you can see on the slide, activists, UN representatives, healthcare workers, media, people living with HIV, policymakers, scientists, and a whole host of HIV professionals from around the world. Thank you. I'll pass you over to Amy now.
Thank you. This is Amy Israel, Program Development Manager speaking. So I'm going to walk you through the conference program and what it entails. As you'll see on the slide, the conference program takes place from July 22nd to July 27th. It's 5 packed days of a lot of content ranging in areas across community leadership and science. We have, it's very difficult to see on the image, but all of the blue are satellite sessions, and those are organized by external organizations who pay for a slot to organize a session. But the official conference program starts with the opening session on Sunday the 22nd and ends on Friday the 27th with the closing session in the afternoon. Between those two times, we have many parallel slots, parallel sessions taking place in 10 session rooms and 10 mini rooms, ranging from all aspects of the epidemic. If you will go to the next slide, please. So here you see the conference program and what it entails. The middle column is the program sessions, and that's the largest portion of our conference program. We have both abstract-driven sessions and non-abstract-driven sessions. I'm going to explain a little bit of these a little bit later, but the abstract-driven sessions are derived from public submissions of abstracts and are reviewed by a panel of 1,100 reviewers who score the abstracts and then are selected by our scientific program committee and track committees. It's quite a complex process. The non-abstract driven sessions are derived by our leadership, our program committees that will pick topics that are really important for the current time and invite speakers to talk about the various aspects of those topics. We have on the right column professional development workshops, which will be explained a little bit later, but they're smaller in focus and have targeted audience to really develop the skills of delegates. And then on the left column, you'll see program activities, which are the activities that are really community-focused that are also open to the public as well as to delegates. And all of the numbers that you see on the slide are the number of sessions for that type. Next slide, please. So for the non-abstract driven sessions, we have multiple different types. The plenary sessions are the morning time session. It's the only session going on at the time, and it's when we bring key leaders or key issues to the table, and we have 3 speakers talking about different issues going on each morning. We then split up into the parallel sessions, which are all of the rest of the things. We have high-level leaders or really hot topics for our special sessions. Those are always well-attended lunchtime sessions, and an example of that would be Bill Gates gave a special session, or if you're familiar with the HPTN 052, the study results for treatment as prevention, it was a hot topic. That's just some examples. We have symposia sessions which focus on a single topic from multiple aspects of that topic. Bridging sessions which cross our three programmatic areas, which are community, leadership and accountability, and science. And the opening session, which brings key leaders both from the U.S. and globally to welcome everyone and talk about the epidemic. And we have our closing and rapporteur session. Our rapporteurs, I think it's not a U.S. term in any way, but it's people who run around and listen to all of the sessions and report back on the summary of the different areas, mainly the scientific tracks, but also leadership and community and youth content. And finally, we have regional sessions, which are focused on what's going on in various regions of the world, and for the U.S., we'll have one specifically on the U.S. Next slide, please. And for our abstract-driven sessions, this is where we have the abstracts that are submitted. The submissions are open as of the 1st of December. People can write their abstract, submit it online, and it goes through the process, the peer review process with the pool of 1,100 reviewers. They're scored and selected by the Scientific Program Committee. As I had discussed a little bit earlier, we have three types of sessions. Oral abstract presentations, which give a little bit more time to each presenter talking about a topic. We have poster discussions where people have their poster hanging during the week, but they also get a short, quick, rapid-fire presentation, and they're very interesting for large audiences. And then we have 4,000 posters which rotate during the conference daily, which cover all of the different scientific tracks. And we only accept abstracts in English online, but there are many mentoring programs which help people both for English language and also for content. And so we encourage you to look at our website, AIDS2012.org, for more information on the abstracts and the process. Next slide, please.
Okay, hi again, everyone. The conference will also feature a series of workshops for conference delegates. The aim of the workshop program is to enhance opportunities for knowledge transfer, skills development, and collaborative learning. The workshops are for small audiences, between 60 and 100 people, and the idea is to make them participatory and interactive so that they can include group work or time for questions and answers. Each workshop can be 90 or 180 minutes in length. They can be in languages other than English, and we'll have 60 workshops in total. 40 of these will come from the public submissions, and the remaining 20 will be designed by the various program committees. Next slide. Oh, Amy?
Sorry, one more thing to add is that all content of the conference program for the program sessions will have simultaneous interpretation in Spanish. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And I'll pass it over to Joe.
Hi, everyone. It's Joe Elias here, the Global Village Coordinator. Really great to be here. Thank you all for attending this webinar. To go straight into this slide, I will be speaking about the program activities which Amy referred to earlier, and rightfully so. It is a community-focused aspect of the conference. It comprises of these two components, the Global Village and the Youth Program. So some of the key characteristics of these program activities, we've had lots of evaluations around it, and some of the the terms that people have told us is that, it's very accessible to the public. It's the only aspect of the conference that is available and accessible to the general public as well as delegates. It's very diverse and interactive, very dynamic in the way things are delivered. It's a really good opportunity for building bridges between those three areas that have been referred to already: science, leadership, accountability, and community. It's been referred to a lot, actually, as a great opportunity to bring these different perspectives together. You'll see leaders, young people, community workers, government agencies, UN agencies side by side in the global village. And most importantly is the fact that there's a strong link to the local area that we do have the conference, and in this case it's DC. So working in the global village and the youth program is really partly about making sure we link to organizations, people, and leaders in the DC area. So some of the things that you'll be able to find in the Global Village, just to let you know the space, if you haven't been to an International AIDS Conference or to a Global Village, you'll be struck by couple of things. It's quite noisy and dynamic, which is kind of like what you would expect from a marketplace or a village, which is exactly the kind of thing we want. But as you can see, we do actually program about 280 activities in the Global Village. And they range from, a main stage running of the daily live plenary broadcast. There are debates, presentations, and workshops. There are booths for both non-government organizations as well as organizations who, from around the world, sell items that benefit HIV and their communities. Some of the very exciting spaces are like the networking zones, and these are 60 square meter areas where we will place, hot topics and regions. So it's based around regions, geographically, population-wise, and it's a program space as well, which is actually organized by organizations from around the world, and they're really exciting spaces. We've got cultural activities. As you can see, there's a video lounge. And with regards to the community dialogue space, that's actually run by UNAIDS and is the place where the Red Ribbon Award winners get to showcase their work. Next slide. So going on to the youth program, the youth activities, as you can tell, and as you would expect, are very dynamic and very interactive. It does consist of the several points that we have there. The youth pavilion is this big structure. It's exciting. It's colourful. It's a great space for serious activities as well, like presentations and sessions and workshops. Just to remind everyone, all of the activities that we do have in the Global Village are up for applications. So we will talk about this later, but to be running a program like a networking zone or a session or an activity, you would need to apply, and this includes the youth pavilion as well. It's also a great place for networking. We also are involved in the youth pre-conference to some degree, and there will be a website that we have for the youth program. So just to let you know, the decision makers for the program activities are the members of the Youth Program Working Group and the Global Village Working Group. And I'm not sure if Sergio Farfan is out on this call. I want to give a shout out to him. He is one of our Global Village Working Group, and we're really happy to have him on board. But just to let you know, the roles and responsibilities of these community-based members is really to make sure that the objectives of the conference and of the Global Village are fulfilled in all of the programmed aspects of the Global Village and youth programs. So these are all members from, like Africa, North America, Southeast Asia, the Caribbean, Middle East, North Africa, Europe and UN agencies and others as well. And they work really hard to review the activities that are part of that have been applied to be run in the Global Village, and they're a great group of people. So with this slide, it's really an opportunity here to let you all know about how you all, as part of this network, fit into being part of AIDS 2012. And as you can see, it's really an opportunity for all of you to participate and network, where you can find out who else does similar work to you, and maybe even collaborate and coordinate things that you could do and support each other. A great place for advocating and promoting the work you do, as well as the people you work for, and it's a great opportunity for information gathering and knowledge as well. And obviously as well, with anyone who's been to a Global Village before, it's a lot of fun and there's a lot of enjoyment there. And I'll now move to the next slide, which is about more information. We know that if something is community focused, it needs to have a strong social media and online presence. So we've already developed 2 Twitter accounts, a Global Village Twitter account, so at GVAIDS2012, with the hashtag Global Village 2012, and the youth one is there as well. We've also have a direct link to the Global Village page on our AIDS 2012 website, as well as the youth page of the AIDS 2012 website. If anyone requires any more information about social media, about Twitter and Facebook, we can take questions on that. So I think now we go to Amy.
Thank you. So we have International Media Scholarship Programs. We receive over 10,000 applications for scholarships, and we're able to provide 800 scholarships to people through their participation in the conference, by when they submit an abstract, a workshop proposal, program activity proposal, or as general delegates to ensure that people who learn at the conference can take back to their home communities and give back that knowledge to their communities. We also have a small pool of media scholarship recipients, around 40 people who receive scholarships to then report back on their findings from the conference. Scholarship can include a combination or all of the following: registration to the conference, travel to Washington, D.C. for the conference, accommodation, and we're having accommodation for the scholarship recipients in a dorm, and because of the increased cost in D.C. for accommodation, it's very difficult. So we want to make sure that we stretch our budget as far as possible, and we'll have dorm rooms on a university campus for scholarship recipients. And then finally, a small, modest daily living allowance for the dates of the conference. We encourage everyone to apply. Applications are open through our website, through the conference profile, from the 8th of December through February 15th. And if you are interested in submitting a proposal for a workshop, abstract, or program activity, you can link that activity through to your scholarship application. If you're submitting as a general delegate with no other submission to the conference, that's fine too, and we encourage that. All applications are screened and then reviewed by a scholarship review committee, and we send notification out in April 2012 to the lucky recipients. We have scholarship recipients from all over the world, but there are definitely scholarships available to people from the U.S., residing in the U.S., so please do apply online. Next slide, please. We also have a volunteer program. We have volunteers. We have about between 1,000 to 1,500 volunteers that we need to support the conference in all of our various aspects. This way, we are able to keep the registration fee lower than it would be by the help of volunteers. People who do volunteer will work for half-day shifts, so they're able to still get a benefit out of the conference by going to sessions or going to the Global Village or doing some of the other activities when they're on their other half-day when they're not volunteering. Volunteers can be students, people from communities, moms, dads, anyone can be a volunteer, except that you have to be 18 years old on the first day of the conference to be a volunteer, and you have to be available for at least 3 days during the conference. Volunteer activities have a wide range from bagpacking, which is always tons of fun for all the delegate bags. It's a lot of camaraderie doing that. Traffic flow, helping people find session rooms, giving information. We have volunteers in the registration area all over. And applications are available online as of the 1st of April 2012. Next slide, please. So we have a lot of submission dates coming up, and we encourage you to go back to our website frequently as more things get closer. But the submissions open for abstracts, program activities, workshops, which are the feeding into the conference program, on the 1st of December. We also have satellite sessions applications and exhibition area submissions open on the 1st of December as well. So those are paid for. And registration, accommodation, and tours open on the 1st of December. And then, as I said, the application for scholarships open on the 8th of December, and all of our submission systems for proposals for the conference close on the 15th of February. Volunteer applications open in early April, and then we notify everyone about the status of their applications for the conference program and scholarships during April 2012. And we want to thank you again for the opportunity to talk about the International AIDS Conference. We're super excited that it's going to be in the U.S. and in the nation's capital. And at this point, we'll turn it back over to you, Francisco.
Great, thank you. And so at this point, we welcome folks to ask questions. I've answered a few questions around in the chat feature that we have, and one question was around the slides, if they're going to be available. And I responded to all. The slides will be available both in English and Spanish, and so following this webinar, you will receive an email from us, and in that email you'll see the PowerPoint presentation attached. Are there any other questions for our presenters today? Remember *7 to unmute, or you could also feel free to use the chat feature. I have one question that came through the chat feature. Are there any topic areas for the abstract submissions?
Yes, there are. We have 5 scientific tracks, and they are basic science, clinical science, epidemiology and prevention science, social science, human rights and political science, and finally implementation science, health systems, and economics. And under each track, we'll have a list of categories. So when people go to submit their abstract online, they're able to first select their track and then select the category. Right now, the categories are being finalized. They're not on the website yet, but in mid-November, they should be on the website. So you will be able to see under the abstract section on our website, you'll be able to go in and see the abstract categories. Currently, what you can see is that each track scope and objective, which will help people already to define which area they would want to submit their abstract in.
Great. I have another question around the English language. Our abstracts, what's the language for abstract submission? Is it English only?
For abstracts, it is English only. Yes.
Okay. Another question in the chat. How do we find out the information around the scholarships?
We have already information on our website. If you go to AIDS2012.org, under the left panel, there's a scholarship or becas section, and you can read some about the scholarships there. We're also developing an online tutorial, which will go online at probably the third week of November, which will help people to see what the scholarship application will look like and begin to prepare for it. But once scholarship applications are open, then you can go on to our website to the conference profile in the top left corner and be able to see the scholarship application. There's 4 essay questions ranging from asking your motivation for attending the conference or what your participation in the conference is going to do back at your home communities. And so you'll be able to answer these questions. You can also save your application along the way and come back to it at a later date as long as it's submitted before the 15th of February. And finally, one other requirement with the scholarship applications is that people will need to upload a letter of recommendation from your manager, peer, or other supporting person who can testify to your work on HIV and AIDS and how your contribution in the conference will give back to your community.
Great, and just wanted to make a note that the website is available in Spanish, and so all the different folders and sub-pages are available in Spanish, but the application form itself is in English. So you can get information in Spanish, but the application form, because you have to complete it in English, is only available in English at the moment.
Francisco, sorry, for scholarships, the application form will also be available in Spanish.
Great.
However, we do ask that people submit in English because of our scholarship review committee. There aren't enough people who are Spanish-speaking who could review all of the applications. So unfortunately, they do need to be submitted in English, but we have lots of groups working together to help each other in translation. For Spanish and English, it's not a must that you have to speak English because to attend the conference, as all of the session content will be translated into Spanish.
Great. We have a couple more. Any questions via the phone? I have a couple more via the chat. *7 to unmute yourself. All right. So a couple questions through the chat line. We have, is there a cost to have a space at the Global Village? And the second question is, if my abstract is accepted, am I more likely to get a scholarship? So let's address the Global Village question. Is there a cost associated with the Global Village?
So it's Joe again. There is no cost associated with getting a space at the Global Village because it's only if you're accepted to be part of the Global Village. You have to make an application on the AIDS 2012 website. So it needs to be a formal application to be part of the Global Village. That application will then be reviewed by our working group and others. So that means that everyone will have a fair chance to apply to be part of the Global Village, and that's why there's no cost involved. Once people are selected and once the Global Village is being built up, other things may come up, but as far as costs are concerned, but that's not relevant. Really what you need to know is that to be part of the Global Village, you do not pay to be part of it, you have to apply to be part of it.
Great. And then the other question, I think maybe, Amy, for you, is if my abstract is accepted, am I more likely to get a scholarship?
Not necessarily. We will have around 5,000 abstracts accepted into the program, and we have only 800 scholarships, and that's not only for abstract presenters, but also for the various submissions and general delegates. It's not going to hurt to submit an abstract. How we do the reviewing for abstracts is the abstract scholarships are decided after an abstract is accepted into the program or not. We then evaluate which abstracts were accepted into the program, and based on criteria that are decided, we look at those specific scholarship applications. But we also look at all of the scholarship applications for the general type of scholarship recipients. So regardless of whether or not you have a proposal, we will look at your application. I don't think that's very clear. But basically, no, it's not going to help you, but it won't hurt you either.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions through the chat or through the on the phone? I just want to remind folks that the conference does serve as a platform to share kind of the latest scientific advances from around the world and to develop strategies advancing all facets of our collective efforts to treat and prevent HIV and AIDS. This year's theme is Turning the Tide Together, serves as an urgent call to action and acknowledges that turning the tide on HIV AIDS will require a commitment and action on many levels. And so there's a lot of involvement and activities happening around leading up to the International AIDS Conference. And so I wanted to share with you as I mentioned, we are launching today in this inaugural webinar a series of brown bag webinars around AIDS 2012. And so our next webinar is entitled Getting to AIDS 2012. And so it's great to have the information, but we want to know how can folks get to the International AIDS Conference. We know D.C. is not a cheap city, and there's a registration fee associated with the conference. And so next webinar will showcase in more depth kind of the scholarship and volunteer opportunities that may help address some of those challenges, as well as we'll have some community members who will share their experiences of how they raised money to attend previous international or national conferences. So that webinar will be taking place December 8th at 6 p.m. Eastern Time. And then following that in January, after we launch the new year, we'll be getting into some more detailed presentations, and that one will be writing a successful abstract. And so that will have folks from IAS also sharing with some strategies of how to really strengthen their abstract in terms of the quality and content to get a better chance to get accepted at the International AIDS Conference. And so more information will be available. And so if you haven't already, make sure you check NLAAN's website, which is latinoaidsagenda.org, or our Facebook page, which is facebook.com/NLAAN. Also, we'll be doing some activities related to the International AIDS Conference at the upcoming United States Conference on AIDS, which is taking place in Chicago next week. And so we'll be having a Latino HIV/AIDS Institute, and at that institute we'll have a couple hours focused on the International AIDS Conference. So if you're available and will be attending the conference, we invite you to join us. It will be in the Colorado Room on the second level of the hotel. In addition, there will be 2 additional IAS-focused workshops. One will be an abstract writing workshop that will be taking place on Friday. And so that, again, we'll have IAS representatives showcasing some of the examples of how to strengthen their abstracts. But examples will be kind of very engaging exercises for folks to practice their abstract writing skills. And in addition, we'll have on Sunday a community roundtable of a panel of folks who have attended previous International AIDS conferences showcasing or sharing with us their experiences and the importance of participating in such conference. And also, I wanted to take a minute to mention that we'll be soon launching the Community Abstract Mentoring Program. It's an online abstract mentoring program with the goal of increasing abstracts from communities of color. This will be an online program that will be free, no charge. The website is available on your screen. It's www.abstractassistance.org. This is in partnership with the Office of AIDS Research at NIH, as well as International AIDS Conference, International AIDS Society, as well as many other local and national partner organizations. And so please look forward to that information. We'll be making sure we disseminate that at USCA as well as via our Facebook page and our website. And more information for that, feel free to email us at nlan411@gmail.com, or go to that website. The website will be launched at the end of November and will be open until February 1st. And this is completely an activity independent from the AIDS 2012 process, and it will serve to complement the existing activities that the AIDS 2012 is launching as well. In addition to that, I wanted also just to mention other activities that are happening around the International AIDS Conference. If you have this information is available on AIDS2012.org, but there's also an opportunity to host conference hubs in your community. I would ask folks to go to the website to get more information, but essentially there are many conferences held in conjunction with the International AIDS Conference by local stakeholders and active in looking at addressing the conversation, having local conversations in their communities. More information is available again at AIDS2012.org. There's also a website, countdownaids2012.org, which is an open public project for sharing information and mobilizing around AIDS 2012. They'll be posting materials, information around the International AIDS Conference, as well as key dates and activities around the conference. And lastly, there's also a nationwide campaign named Road to AIDS 2012, which will engage communities in 15 U.S. cities around the National HIV Strategy, but also around the International AIDS Conference. And so more information regarding that project is available at www.roadtoaids2012.org. And just for clarity, the CAMP program, which you have in front of you, the Community Abstract Mentoring Program, will be ready and launched December 1st. So the same day that the abstracts are open, we'll be launching this mentoring program. Thanks again for joining us. Please complete the evaluation form, and in that form, we'll see a link for our next webinar. Thanks again.
Thank you. Please stand by.